We are live on YouTube, and I am so glad to be here. I had an experience with a client today that was so heartfelt and just beautiful. I wanted to share sort of the idea of it with you, and that is when we feel judged by someone, or when we find ourselves in a circumstance where someone has not ascribed to us good intent or good motives, and they criticize us or judge us or cast us out based on a false judgment, it can really feel hurtful. And it can really feel like, well, why don't they see me? And one of the things that is very healing in a circumstance like that, there's that line from the hymn, love is kind and suffers long. Love is meek and thinks no wrong. Love is meek and thinks no wrong. Well, we want people to feel that towards us, but are we feeling that towards them? It's like if I'm feeling like, why are you judging me? And why are you doing? It's like, wait a second, I'm holding them in my thought as someone who's judgmental. So I'm doing the same thing that I wish they weren't doing. So there's this place of meekness and love that we can just thank God that God has sort of put his law in our inward parts. It's like we know when love is present. We know when we're being loving and kind and meek towards others. We know when we're being that towards ourselves. And there are a lot of times when we judge ourselves way more harshly than other people judge us. Well, there are two instances in my life when I was like outcast from this group, a couple of different groups, friends, and I actually had an organization that I was involved with just peripherally, but this whole group of people that I knew and was very suddenly kind of cut off because they thought that I had acted in a way that I hadn't, but it was just sort of this false accusation. So there was a lot of hurt around that until I got to this place, and this is kind of what came up with this client today, until I got to the place where I realized I get to know who I am and be released from any sense of fear or judgment, wondering how they're viewing me. It's like, it's none of my business, actually, how they view me. It's none of my business. A, I can't do anything about it. And B, it's none of my business. What they think of me is none of my business. And if I have the meekness to love them in spite of what may feel like a false judgment or a false accusation or a misjudgment or mispositioning of something, if I can love them through that and I can love myself through that and not take on a misdiagnosis, you can talk about it in health, in terms of health too, a misdiagnosis, somebody else is diagnosing my character and they've misdiagnosed my character. I don't need to take that on. I can love myself enough to see through the illusion of that or see information in that I go, oh, well, that's interesting that that's how it came across to them. Maybe there's something I need to be aware of. Maybe there's a blind spot I need to look at. But unless I'm feeling meek and humble, there's no way I'm going to look at that honestly. Or Mrs. Eddy in Science and Health talks about honesty is spiritual power. It's like this place of love, this place of the spiritual sense, knowing the truth of God and what God puts in our hearts and knowing the purity of that, that is the open field of possibility. Because without that basis of love, all stuff goes haywire. We start feeling judged or judging or feeling accused or accusing, or it gets into the whole personal sense testimony of stuff. It's like we can avoid all of that by just love is kind and suffers long. Love is meek and thinks no wrong. And if God puts the law in our inward parts, it's like it's already in our heart. And we don't need to go looking for it out there. We don't need to make sure that somebody else's opinion is what we want it to be of us. We can know ourselves because not God knows us, we can know us. And that's enough. And know that that standard that God has given us and put in our hearts and raised for us, that's enough. And that frees us from any place of judgment based on other people's opinion or based on our own opinion, or trying to manipulate or fix other people's opinion after the fact. It's like we can let it go. And that place of love is really a place of freedom and a place of the possibility of all of it being seen accurately and not having any misperceptions there. Anyway, I don't know if I explained any of that at all for you guys. I hope you got the sense of it that I was thinking, but I just had this really, I don't know, we just had this overwhelming sense of love in this session. Just really, when we feel God's love, there's like nothing else like that. And it's so healing, and it just washes away any false sense that any human opinion or personal opinion or circumstance or anything has sort of tried to lay on us. And all of that just gets washed off and we feel clean. So lots of love. I'm really glad that you're here. Let me know what you're thinking about. Let me know if there's any topic that you, I don't know, want us to talk about. I like getting an interchange with you. So let me know what you're thinking. You can always email me too, lisa@thischoicematters.co. So you can always feel free to email me and let me know what you're thinking, and we can have a little bit of a dialogue. Okay, lots of love. See you next time.